In this video, we discuss the question, should you rent or own in retirement? And we'll be using the 5x5 method to come up with the answer to this question. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
The answer to the question, should I rent or own in retirement, is a very important one to get right. And we're going to spend a lot of time on this question right now using the 5x5 method. For those of you who don't know what the 5x5 method is, it's a very specific and structured way to look at the variables that people often face when making this decision. To be fair, it's the 5x5x5 method, but that just doesn't roll off the tongue. So what is the 5x5x5 method? First, 5 reasons that someone in retirement would consider owning in retirement. 5 reasons why someone in retirement would consider renting in retirement, and the 5 variables that most people think about when making this decision, and it sways it one way or the other. Retirement is a well-earned time to enjoy life, and where you live has a big impact on how much you do, in fact, enjoy life. Your home should be a place where you feel secure and relaxed without worrying about finances or maintenance in most cases. Understanding the pros and cons of renting versus owning can help you align your housing choices with your retirement goals. Let's start off with home ownership. Home ownership has long been the cornerstone of the American dream, but is it right for retirees? The old answer used to be yes, absolutely. Today's answer is, it depends. Starting off with the pros, the first is equity in your home. Owning a home is a financially sound decision, particularly in your working years for most people, because during that time, you can either pay it out in rent or you can pay it towards your mortgage and pay down your mortgage. At the end of your mortgage, you have an asset that has a lot of value. And if you're lucky enough to reach retirement and you're mortgage free, you're in a really good position financially. The next reason to own a home in retirement is predictability. Home ownership allows you to know what your costs are going to be very specifically over the next months and years ahead, unlike rent, which can go up, or unlike rent, which can go away if your landlord decides that he doesn't want to rent to you anymore. Perhaps he wants to sell the house to someone who wants to move in. Also, there are tax benefits. Interest is typically deductible up to a certain amount, and your real estate taxes are deductible up to a certain amount. You don't have both of those benefits if you rent, of course. Next, customization. Some people just want their home the way they want their home. And if you rent, you have limits into what you can do to your home. If you want a new kitchen, well, you can talk to the landlord, but the answer is probably going to be no. And if you want a new garden out back, well, you have to turn it back into the lawn that it was before when you do eventually vacate, if he lets you do that at all. And of course, if you want to paint the family room plum, well, that's a little hard to turn back to white when you do eventually leave, but it doesn't matter because if it's your house, you don't have to turn it back. Finally, more often than not, homes go up in value over time simply because prices go up over time, if nothing else. And home inflation often increases faster than real inflation. However, homeownership isn't perfect. There are a lot of cons to owning a home too. The first is you have to maintain your home. And by maintain it, that means everything from making sure that everything is tidy, if you like a tidy home, to replacing the heating and air conditioning if your HVAC unit goes out. These can be particularly time-consuming, expensive, and burdensome the older you get. The next is, even though you can sell your house, there are times where you can't really sell your house, at least not at a price that's appropriate, because sometimes the real estate market just isn't there, and even if it is, it's not a liquid asset, so you can't sell it tomorrow. You have to go through a process. So the liquidity of your home is a big drawback for some people. They'd rather have those funds in an investment of some sort. And of course, there's market risk. If you owned a home in 2005, you would think that it was the best investment in the world. If you own that same home in 2009, it would have gone down 30 to 40% during the global financial crisis. And if you're relocating and you want to buy a new home, there are a lot of upfront costs that you have to pay for that you don't have to pay for if you're renting. And next, you're tied to the location. You can't just up and leave at the end of your lease. There's a lot that is involved if you want to leave this home and move someplace else. So what about the pros of renting versus owning? Well, it comes as no surprise that some of the cons of owning are some of the pros of renting. The first is extreme flexibility. If you're the type of person that wants to move every 12 months, every 18 months, every 24 months, if you want to spend a few years in Portugal and then come back, or some other reason to not stay put, well, you have the flexibility to do it. This is particularly useful if you like to travel or if your family does not live in the town in which you live. Renting has a lot lower upfront costs, particularly compared to buying a new home. You usually have first and last month's deposit, and that's about it. Number 3, no maintenance worries. As a renter, your job is to pay the rent and to have everything fixed around you. That is the landlord's responsibility if something goes wrong. As a homeowner, of course, you need to maintain your home, particularly if you have something bad that happens that costs a lot of money. It has to be fixed quickly. And frankly, for me, Jeff Schmidt, this is the biggest reason to rent, because maintaining a home, particularly if this isn't your profession, like a professional landlord, can have a lot of expenses creep up on you. And these expenses need to be dealt with somehow, which means typically you need to set aside a lot of money in an emergency fund to deal with the issue. If your roof suddenly needs replacing, or you discover termites, or your walk needs to be replaced because it's just too old, well, all of those cost a lot of money. And of course, you can get nickel and dime by the constant service calls to your house just to maintain your appliances and your mechanicals. Next, your expenses are completely predictable for the most part. A lot of rent includes utilities, and if it does, then you know exactly what you're going to be paying every single month. You don't have to worry about a hot summer day or a hot summer week and your electric bill going up. You also don't need to worry about having your driveway plowed, because that's somebody else's responsibility. And the next point, just a general lack of worry. When you rent, you have a lot less to worry about, and you've earned the right not to worry in retirement. The fact is, a lot of the things that we worry about never happen, but just removing them from your mind in terms of a possibility is a very, very good thing. With all of that, why would anybody ever want to own their home? Well, there's a lot of negatives to renting as well. The first is that you're not building additional equity in your home as you progress through retirement. Your rent contributes to your landlord's equity, of course, and the momentum of having a house just in existence as you progress through life means that it will most of the time naturally increase in value over the years and decades ahead. And of course, the next point, rent increases. Your landlord isn't going to keep your rent flat forever. If he did, then he wouldn't be keeping up with inflation. So you can expect rent increases, and some of them can be pretty dramatic. If you went back to New York City about 4 or 5 years ago, as we were coming into COVID, rent increases were going up 50% or more in some instances because people just needed a place to stay. And unlike a fixed mortgage, rental payments are based on market rates most of the time. Even if your landlord really likes you, he's going to like a market rate better. That's just the nature of business. Next, you have limited control. We talked about the fact that you can't really renovate your kitchen if you're renting, nor would you want to, or put a garden in the back. Your landlord probably wouldn't like that too much. But what if you just wanted to put in a different light fixture? You don't like the design of the one that's in the dining room, and so you want to put up another one. Will your landlord reimburse you if you put it in? Can you take it with you? Will he let you do it at all? Those are all questions for something as simple as a light fixture. Think about that same question as you look at different areas of your home that you have made your own over the years. And renting may have short-term stability, at least for the year or two if you're talking about a multi-year lease, but long-term stability just isn't there. And point number 5, whether you stay or go may not be your decision, even though you want the flexibility to be able to decide whether you stay or go at the end of your lease. The fact is, if you love where you live but the landlord sells the home, well, you may not be able to stay there anymore. With all of that, how do you make the decision? Well, there are 5 things that people typically think about, particularly retirees, when it comes to this decision. The first is their own financial stability. Assess your own financial health, your savings, your retirement income, Social Security, other income, and weigh that against the 2 choices. Calculate the affordability of buying versus renting and consider all costs: the cost of a mortgage, the cost of rent, taxes, and other related costs to home ownership or home renting. Determine your own lifestyle preferences. Is a stable, permanent residence more important to you than the ability to relocate on a whim, really, if you really want to? In essence, do you prefer the freedom of not having the responsibility or the stability of everything being in its place? Next is proximity to family. Most people, when they retire, want to be close to their family, even if they don't really like being around their family when they're younger. The reality is they don't want to be alone. And so the decision to buy versus rent or own versus rent sometimes is simply, where's the family? If they're in the current town and you already own, well, that's a pretty obvious benefit to owning. If they've moved, as so many children do, and you want to follow your kids, well, that might be a good reason to rent, particularly if they're not going to be there long term, and so therefore you wouldn't want to be there long term either. Next, consider community and amenities. The type of community that you live in and the stuff available to you, the amenities, is extremely important when you have a lot of time. Some communities offer social activities, fitness centers, their proximity to healthcare and other amenities is right there. Whether you're buying or renting, consider what community features are important to you. Number 3, consider your overall health today and in the future and your mobility. If you own a home and it has stairs, well, that might be okay today, but what about 10 years from now? Conversely, if you have a single level home that's perfect for retirement and you like where you live, why would you consider leaving? For the most part, most homes have been built multi-level, particularly when you're raising a family, and so leaving that home is probable if you want to move to a single level home. The question is, do you want to move into a rental or do you want to own it again? And related is, do you have to modify your home or future-proof your home for accessibility? Will you have to put in a ramp? Do you need to consider an elevator? If these are the things that you actually need to enhance your current home with, then maybe moving into a rental makes more sense, particularly an apartment building with elevators, ramps, and other accessibility features. Next, what are your future plans? Not just if you're going to follow the kids or not, but what do you want to do or where do you want to be in 2, 4, 6, 10 years? That is a big question. Renting offers more flexibility in the answer to this question, but if you're going to begin with the end in mind and you're going to buy today for a place that you're going to live in 10 years and in between, that might make sense too. Next is estate planning. Owning a home is a very big asset and needs to be dealt with in a very specific way to help your heirs when your time has come. Consider how owning a home fits in with your overall estate planning goals and talk to an attorney and a financial planner on this point. Finally, number 5, market conditions. Sometimes it's just a really bad time to buy or a really bad time to sell. I referenced the global financial crisis and selling your home in 2009, but buying your home in 2009 would have made a lot of sense because most people would have looked at that as a wonderful opportunity to buy homes at bargain basement prices. Still, people aren't going to be faced with a global financial crisis more than once in a lifetime probably, but oftentimes you have a pretty good feel on what's happening in market prices. Are they going up or are they coming down? Are rental rates going up or are they coming down or are they stable? Understanding market trends can help you make a more informed decision. And of course I say it often, but I'm going to say it again, consulting a financial advisor might make good sense in this particular instance because they know what questions to ask and how to think about things in a way that a lot of other people don't. They can help you assess your financial situation and your retirement goals, create a comprehensive budget that includes all expenses, not just the ones that you can think of. They'll help you evaluate the tax implications of buying versus renting, and help you develop an estate plan that aligns with your housing decision. If you like this video, please make sure you click subscribe and turn on notifications so that you get alerted the next time I post a video. I'm going to be posting a follow-up to this video in a couple of weeks, so if you click subscribe and turn on notifications, you'll get notified when that video comes out. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.